Yo, what is going on everybody? It's Roku here, and this video is going to be a tutorial video where I will more so talk about vision control and generally speaking what you should be doing in relation to wards. I'll just give you a quick breakdown of everything you need to know in terms of vision control, vision denial, how you should be playing in terms of like how you should be using wards and etc. in laning phase and after laning phase. Now before we get into the video, I want to ask you guys the typical YouTuber things, like, comment, subscribe, ask all the questions you need to ask, come follow my stream, join the Discord, etc, 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 etc. But you guys already probably know to do all that shit. So yeah, let's get into it. So look, as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna split this video into two sections: during the laning phase and after the laning phase, right? So before I get into the specific warding spots, keep in mind that there is no like one solid warding spot that will work into everything, right? There's a multitude of warding spots, both around your lane and actually deep into the jungle and into the river, that like you kind of have to pick the right warding spot for the right situation, right? There's no one that works into everything. So keep in mind that this video won't be like you watch it and you become like a god at vision control, but this video is meant to act as a resource for you to use to train like vision control in general, right? So without like further ado, let's just get into it. And before I get into it, like, again, don't waste your fucking wards, alright? This is like the tip number one, because a lot of times I see like, players just put their wards down randomly, like they just shove the wave and put the ward down when like they know they have clear information from the map that the jungler is not going to be top, like the Drake is up and your team and the enemy team are like gearing to fight it, and like then there's no point in putting this ward down here because you know that you're not going to get ganked at that point in time, right? So try to use your macro knowledge to prevent you from wasting your wards, but this video is going to be about warding and not macro, so I won't go too much into detail onto that point. Now, one of the most important warding spots is this bush, as I showed as an example. This bush is very, very powerful, and it works even better if you can keep the wave around this middle section here. If it's like an even wave where nobody's gonna get the advantage, then you mostly want the ward to be here. What this ward basically does is it just, protects you from all ganks from the river, right? And also what this ward does is it like basically makes it a bit harder for you to get ganked using the blast cone over here. Because basically, if you ward outside the brush, you might get into the case where like someone can blast cone into it at a certain sort of angle, so they don't even go into vision. But that happens very, very rarely. So like you can basically get away with warding it here, like a ward somewhere around this line will give you plenty of warning if someone attempts to gank you from here or from here, So this is a very, very good default warding position. Another warding spot is here. If you are, for those of you who don't know how sides work, this side of the map is blue side and this side of the map is red side, right? So if you're on blue side of the map and you find yourself pushing your wave in a lot, having a ward here is very, very useful, right? And if you're on the red side, this will be like the ward you need to put here if you're getting pushed in and you need to be defensive, right? So these two brushes, or this area in general, is basically where you want to be placing your ward. And if you watch my stream a lot, you'll find me placing my ward down here a lot. Because what placing it here does is that it watches, like, look at how much of the, I'll get out here so you can only see the vision from the ward, but look how much of the river I get to see. So if I'm paying attention to my map, the second I see a jungler, I get like 2-3 seconds of time to just fall back, right? So if I'm up here, around here, and I see the jungler coming, and I just go back instantly, I should be around here by the time the jungler gets to here, right? And if they're Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, or Jarvan, whatever, I can just use my E to outplay their gap closer, and then walk away free without getting touched by the jungler. So that's like my favorite warding spot. Not my favorite, but like my most common warding spot that I use, right? If you're getting pushed in, let's say like your enemy is putting like a massive minion wave into you, and you know that there's like a good likelihood that you're gonna get ganked, then sometimes it is intelligent to put a ward into one of these lane pushes, right, like here, so that when the wave is like here, you have a ward here. Now, what this ward basically does is it makes lane ganks much weaker against you. One specific jungler that I would recommend a ward like this against is Rengar. A lot of times what Rengar's players like to do is they come into like the lane through here, and they ask their top laner to just shove the wave. Then they walk into these brushes, and they slowly make their way into either this brush or the last brush, and then they wait for the enemy top laner to just walk up, and then they jump on them, and they just gank them through the lane, right? That's why like a lane ward here or here when you're getting pushed in, if you can get one here is perfect, but here is not bad, it's good, it's just better. But yeah, if you can get wards in any of these positions, then you know that like you can basically avoid lane ganks pretty well. Now keep in mind, right, what Sweeper basically does, Sweeper, this thing, basically if a jungler is walking up to your lane and they have this activated, all the wards that are currently like looking at the jungler will be deactivated, right? Now, if you put a ward down here, and you know you put a ward down here, but then suddenly you see that you have no vision here, boom, that's your like clear sign that the enemy team, someone on the enemy team is activating Sweeper and walking up here, right? So it's not enough to just put down wards, you have to put down wards and also be very attentive, right? Another great warding spot into junglers like Zac and Rek'Sai, who can cross terrain a lot, is warding here, right? This ward will watch the blast cone. This ward will, because what a lot of Rek'Sai players like to do, they like to sit here, and they will tunnel from here to like here. So like, let's say you're walking around in here, they'll tunnel from here to here, and they'll just knock you up and kill you real quickly with the enemy top laner. So this ward is very good at avoiding that. And if you're on here, or like if you're just pushing in from red side, let's say you're spawn here, right, from the red side of the map, and you're shelving your lane hard a lot, then a ward here or even a ward here won't be too bad if the blast cone is still up, right? Now let's get into the more aggressive wards, right? Say you shoved in a massive minion wave, right, on your red side, and you shoved in like a massive minion wave like this. What should you do? Now, your opposing top laner should 99% of the time be here taking these minions. If he's walking up here, run. You're 90% going to get yourself ganked, right? If he's walking up, that means someone's here to fight you, right? And like, even if you back off, like him missing minions is just gonna like put you in like ahead of them more and more, right? So yeah, but generally speaking, you shove that in, you come in here, number one, take the blast cone, just attack it, kill it. This basically stops the jungler from using it for himself, right? And best case scenario, while killing this ward, while killing this vision plant, you see whether the jungler's here or whether the camps are killed, right? So if you see that, like, you know, this camp is killed, this camp is killed, that means like the jungler has cleared this. And if you want to be real careful, you can go check here. And if all these are cleared, that means that 90% of the time the jungler is on this side of the map. So you have that information, just ping like bot lane like this, you know, just like be like, hey, jungler's gonna be over there, like communicate it to your team, right? Or you can find the jungler clearing some of these camps out, planning to gank you, which will basically give you the opportunity to either just like back off, basically, right? So you got that. You can place like an aggressive ward around here, like one here. And then you can just blast cone out. Alternatively, you could just go kill the crab here if it's up. And as Darius, you shouldn't be inting as Darius. You should always be ahead in lane, or at least like even. And you have to use this priority to basically just like kill shit. And one of these things that you should be killing and like, you know, applying pressure with is by killing the crab whenever you can, right? Don't just let it walk here for free. If you kill it, like, if your jungler flames you for killing crab, he's just honestly very stupid, so don't even listen to him, right? If you, like, unless he's right here and about to take it, like him being on the other side of the lane or even being in here, right? You taking it first means that the enemy jungler can't get it, and plus you get gold and some HP and mana, which is very good. Also, one more bonus tip: if you have your lane pushed in and you took a bad trade, go and look for plants into the river and just like eat them. It's good mana, it's good HP, and it's honestly one of the biggest cheese things you can do. As Darius, I do it all the fucking time. It's like a free sustain. So I've gone through most of the warding spots that you're going to be using in lane, and now we move to the point of like post lane, right? So let's just teleport to base. Now, buy control wards, right? This is a tip that like in laning phase, you have to rush items, right? So if you're just about to hit your ninja tabi, right, 1.1k gold, then you can't obviously buy a board. You gotta buy your power spike item. But if you have like, you know, let's say instead of 1k gold, instead of 1.1k gold, you have like 1.2k, or like, you know, you have just above the amount of gold that you need, it'll be a worthwhile investment to get a control ward, basically, right? This is for both during and outside of laning phase. And outside of laning phase, it's a good idea to have a control ward handy, like whenever you can afford it, basically, right? Just like whenever you can, you have extra gold, it's okay to buy like 2-3 control wards a game, right? Now, why do you need control wards? Basically speaking, you have to actively help your team set up vision, right? You're not like supporting, like warding is not just the job for the support, it's the job for the whole team. And a lot of times in low elo, when you have an auto-filled support, your support won't be warding, right? So you have to actually step up and do way more wave control, right? So I'm gonna let you know the okay warding spots that like you have to take if you're like just walking around with your team, grouping, taking out turrets, and just team fighting, right? So a very, very powerful ward is right here. A ward here or a ward here is very strong, and you should be putting down these wards whenever you can. If you're aggressive, you can put down a ward right here, a control ward right here, or you can put one down right here, you know. I mean, not here. If you're aggressive on like, you know, if you're aggressive on this side, it's better to put the ward right here or right here, right? Generally speaking, you don't want to put your like wards on like these side lanes anymore, like because like it's past that point in the game, right? You're no longer be staying up here and just split pushing, right? I mean, you are going to be split pushing, but you're not going to be like, this is not split pushing. You're split pushing if you're in enemy territory, right? This is just collecting a wave. So like the laning phase is over, these wards are useless, put them on here, these kinds of places, so you can help your team out. A place that you obviously should have a ward in, if it's not warded by anyone else in your team, is major objectives, right? So place your control wards like in Baron, place them in Drake if it's an important Drake, so that like you make sure that the enemy have no vision over the area. This is especially important if you are doing Baron, right? Having a control ward like on standby while doing Baron allows for you to basically just have like a permanent sweeper on across the area. Now, speaking of sweepers, we're gonna go on to talk about trinkets. Now, a big part of vision control and vision denial is a correct use of Oracle Lens and Farsight Alteration, the two other trinkets, right? The reason I mentioned that you should be using your control wards for these areas is because you're not going to be keeping the normal yellow stealth ward during the entire game, right? I know sometimes I make this mistake where like I don't actually switch from yellow ward, but you should be switching to either blue ward or the sweeper after you leave the laning phase. Why? Now, each of these things has their own uses, but you mostly want to go for the Oracle Lens because let's just say that the longer the game goes, the stronger the stealth wards of your supports become. So instead of just like the amount of like yellow wards that you can put down is just like nothing compared to your support. You're much more useful using the sweeper and just going through spots and trying to make sure that the enemy have no vision, right? Like I know you probably get sweeper into matchups like Teemo, Wukong, Akali, where like they're stealthed, but you also need like sweeper anyway, so you can just like, let's say you're doing objectives and you don't have a control ward, then you can just like turn on sweeper to make sure they have the vision. You can turn on sweeper like to clear out wards in like a area so they warded. You can turn on the sweeper against traps like Teemo traps, Shaco traps, Nilly traps, etc., Jhin traps, to clear those out. And here's the most important part: you can use Oracle Lens to flank enemy teams. Now look, if you like, let's say this is the enemy team right here, and this is your team, and you're about to have a fight, right? But if you have Oracle Lens, you can pretty much like activate it and just walk like through an area and just come flank them. This is especially powerful when a fight has started. Why? If they see you on their map, or if they register that you exist, they will 100% like focus you down and instantly kill you, right? But the thing is, when they're in a fight, they won't be thinking like, oh, we don't have vision here anymore. They'll just be focusing on the fight and the map and what's on the screen. So what you should be like, what you can do with this Oracle Lens is just walk up behind them and don't hit the stealth wards. Just walk up, because they will be disabled and they won't see you. And then bam, you have instant access to their backline and you can pretty much just carry a fight solo. Flanking is very, very, very powerful, and it's like one of the top reasons as to why vision control and having vision superiority over the enemy team can allow for you to just wreck teams, because if you get access to the enemy backline instantly, you can just one-shot one of their carries and you don't even need one of your summoner spells to actually do anything. And that's one of Darius' weaknesses, like if you don't have your summoner spells, you are just worthless, right? So that is pretty much what you need to use the Oracle Lens for. Now let's go back to base and check out what uses you can have for the blue ward. Let's just level up to 9 here. Alright. So, this ward is very, very useful, but you typically see it on the AD carry or some shit, right? Now, if you're in low elo, you're not going to see this ward on anyone, because in low elo, people don't fucking switch their trinkets out at all. But you basically want to be using this to give yourself instant vision of the enemy, right? If nobody on your team has blue ward, get it, right? Even if it is better for you to get sweeper, if nobody else on your team has this, you have to get it, because it's pretty much a necessity, right? Say you are scattered around your team and the enemy team is missing. You don't know what they're doing. So the only way like you can be sure that they're not doing some shit like Baron or Drake is by using a Farsight alteration, right? Even if they kill it instantly, you will still have seen what they were up to, right? So you can basically just like kind of give yourself like a, you can just rest that, oh, they're not doing Baron. Or if you do catch them doing Baron, you're just giving yourself like the opportunity to like have your team counterplay. So like it basically makes it way harder for the enemy team to sneak a Baron, right? And we all know in low elo how, teams like to just cheese shit and they like to cheese Baron and shit. This helps against that, right? Another thing this blue ward is very good for is situations where you're split pushing, right? So let's say you're splitting, right? And you're over here just killing your minions, trying to split push, right? But oh no, the enemy team was like sitting here just countering your team, but they're suddenly gone. So what you can do with this blue ward is either put down a ward here or put down a ward here, or wherever you think the enemy team are currently, and get instant information about the enemy team's rotations, right? And that way, you can basically like stop yourself from like dying on a split push and just getting like 5v like 1 basically, right? So this board is also very useful into split push scenarios where like you can't just like go around placing too many control wards, because if you go in here and put a control ward down or put a normal ward down, you're already walking towards them. So if you're here already and they're here, you're gonna die anyway. With this, you can put wards down from much further away and see them before they can come, reach you. So that's the case in which where blue wards are useful, right? So yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. Remember, buy control wards. I'm just gonna give you a quick TLDR at the end, but just ward the common spots, but only do so like according to your situation, right? Don't just like use one spot for everything. like adjust your warding situations against different cases and different teams. Like, it's a dynamic game. One size doesn't fit all. It's like you have to do a specific thing for specific games, right? That's 1. 2, buy control wards. 3, don't waste wards. Use macro to tell you when you should be warding. 4, warding is for everyone, not just for the support. You have to help with your vision control and vision denial, specifically as like a big meaty bruiser who can actually, like, you know, walk around and not get one shot. You have to use your sweeper to take out the enemy wards from popular spots. I think this video has gone on for long enough, so I won't really take up any more of your time. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot of things. This video was like a long time coming, so like I've promised to do it so many times and I just couldn't find the time to do it. So I just decided to just, you know, fuck it, just quickly record it and upload it before I forget about it. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, DM me on Discord or whatever if you want, like, to ask personal questions from me, or if you just want to chill with me, you know, that's fine too. And you guys can catch me streaming later this week on Saturday and Friday, of course. Alright guys, see ya!